Hey homeschoolers! If you're watching this video, you are probably new to homeschool and living in Ohio. I am on my third year of homeschooling in Ohio, and I will be sharing information with you regarding the regulations you need to meet in order to homeschool in Ohio. Now, if you aren't from Ohio but would love to find someone who knows your state's homeschooling standards, I am happy to say that this is a large collab with many other homeschool mothers. This is actually a collab video hosted by two channels, which are My Cathedral Garden and Rooted Homeschool. Both of those channels, as well as many others, will be linked below in a playlist and at the end of this video. Feel free to check out the other ladies' videos to see if your state, province, or country is represented in this collab. Like I said, it is a huge one, so we're covering a lot of areas. All right, let's go ahead and get started on Ohio homeschooling standards. Now, before we begin, I must also state that I am not a professional of law or Ohio education. I do not have a vast knowledge that our lawmakers would have. I am just a homeschooling mom, and I'm sharing information from my knowledge and my understanding as best as I can. And if you have any questions beyond what information I share today, I will leave links to resources that have plenty of helpful information to answer any of your questions. First, the state of Ohio is considered a moderately regulated state for homeschooling. This means that there are other states with more hoops to jump through, and some states have way less. In fact, some states have zero regulations to homeschool. I wish that was the case for Ohio, but it isn't. And in the state of Ohio, we have two options for homeschool. The first option is to be removed from the standard school system to be homeschooled by us, the parents. Now that obviously is what we do. And the other option is to attend a school non-chartered by the State Board of Education for religious purposes. I am not fully sure how the second option works, but I do assume it's for our Amish population as well as some of the other religions that are found here in Ohio. So I won't speak much more on the second option as I truly have very little knowledge. So now, what do you have to do in order to homeschool? Well, first, will your child even be age 6 by the first calendar day of the school that you are removing them from? If they will not be 6 by then, you do not need to do anything or any of these steps that I'm about to explain to you. Ages 5 and under do not require an action on the parent's part. We personally used preschool and kindergarten as our trial years to make sure homeschool was the right fit for us, and you can totally do the same. Once your child has reached the age of 6, you will need to take the following steps in order to homeschool your child. The first step is to send an NOI. An NOI is a notification of intent, and this is the letter that informs the schools that you are withdrawing them from the use of the state-regulated school system and plan to keep them home for their education. Now, one of the downsides of homeschooling in Ohio is that Ohio seems to be very nosy, and I am in homeschooling Facebook groups, and I often see that many parents have the same struggle with this step. Many of the schools ask for more information than you have to legally give. Also, many of the forms the school system sends you regarding homeschool do not meet the legal standards. And they also often ask you to send in additional information that is not necessary. And that is why I will be linking a wonderful NOI letter option below this video. It comes from the Ohio Homeschooling Parents website, which originally started as a Facebook group, or so I think. So I also recommend finding that Facebook group. It is a great resource for all things homeschool in the state of Ohio. So you must also complete a curriculum addendum. And this is just an informational piece of paper where you share what curriculum you plan to use. It does not need approval from the school system, and you can change your mind on the curriculum anytime after sending this information in. It is just an outline. It is not a finalized plan. It is recommended to make additional copies of this information. Be aware, I have seen many times that parents say the schools say they haven't received the information, so you may need to send it again if that were to happen. Some parents also do certified mail and add the option of having a return receipt service for proof of the school system receiving the NOI and the curriculum addendum. Now, there are some remaining steps. That's the big one. But these are the ones to be aware of in order to homeschool as well. The first being the parent who is homeschooling is required to have either a high school diploma, a JED, a GED or a valid standard test showing comprehension equal to a high school level education. Second, homeschool in Ohio does require you to have the following subjects covered. That would be language, reading, writing, geography, history of the United States and Ohio, government, math, science, health, physical education, fine arts, and safety. That sounds like a lot, but it's really not over the time span of the year. And third, Ohio homeschooling regulations require a minimum of 900 hours each homeschool year. You will have to track your hours of education, and this does include educational field trips or anything that is considered part of your child's education outside of any book work or curriculum you do. So that is a really great part about it. You can add on all those field trips and other things. And lastly, you have to choose one of the 3 options at the end of each school year to show your child's progress and comprehension. And the first option is the one we chose. You can create a portfolio of your child's work throughout the school year. And that's why I'm telling you about this in this video. It needs to be done throughout the school year. This option must be reviewed by a licensed teacher in your state or by a person appointed by the superintendent. The second option is to take a standardized test and send the results to the superintendent. And this test also has to be administered by a licensed teacher. The third option is to work with the superintendent for any other option you could use if the first 2 are just not an option for you for whatever reason. Now that may seem like a lot, but it really isn't. The great thing is that Ohio isn't a heavily regulated state compared to some other states. In the beginning, the only thing to truly worry about is the NOI form and the curriculum addendum. Everything else you can figure out as you go. And with Ohio regulations, I feel there's a ton of space for freedom and creativity in how you educate your children. Are you wanting to see a day in the life of my child homeschooling me? If so, click the video on the top. Don't forget to check out the other ladies in this playlist linked if you have any other state you would like to see your local homeschooling regulations for. Also, Ohio homeschooling resources will be linked below this video for you to look at, including that NOI form and curriculum addendum on the same link.